In October 1878, Ned, Dan, Joe, and Steve headed for Bullock Creek, where they hoped to earn enough money to appeal Allen's sentence by running a whiskey distillery. Shortly after their arrival, they received a warning that 4 policemen were planning to track them down. Ned rode around the surrounding areas and found sets of horse tracks leading to Stringy Bark Creek, close to where the gang was camped. The gang ambushed the police camp at Stringy Bark Creek and found 2 of the 4 policemen, Constables Lonergan and McIntyre, standing around a fire. The gang drew their guns and Ned shot Lonergan. McIntyre surrendered. When the other 2 policemen, Sergeant Kennedy and Constable Scanlon, returned, they refused to surrender to the gang. In exchange of shots that followed, Ned killed Scanlon and later Kennedy.
At this site is where the 3 police constables were murdered by the Kelly gang. And here's a small monument that was installed in 1878 inside in this gum tree. And this tree is famously known as the Kelly tree.
We are now at the site where Sergeant Kennedy's body was found. He was on the run from the Kelly gang, and he was running from tree to tree, and he'd nearly fired all his shots when Dan Kelly shot him in the right arm and he dropped his revolver. But the Kelly gang kept on firing at him. Later at his trial, Ned Kelly stated that he was not aware of Sergeant Kennedy having dropped his revolver. Here lies Constable Thomas Lonergan, who was shot alongside his colleagues, Constable Kennedy and Scanlon, in 1878 by Ned Kelly. This is the final resting place of Police Sergeant Michael Kennedy. This is where Michael Scanlon is laid to rest.
Constable McIntyre witnessed Ned Kelly murder Constable Scanlon and fired several shots in Kennedy's direction. During the gunfire, Kennedy's horse bolted towards McIntyre, and having no weapon to defend himself, he grabbed the horse to make his escape. He announced his report to Mansfield Police Headquarters some hours later. From this moment on, these 4 men were officially outlaws. It was the beginning of the notorious Kelly gang outbreak.
The Kelly gang began their crime spree early December 1878 when they held up the National Bank in Euroa. They got away with £2,000, about £285,000 in today's money.
Okay, at this site was the First National Bank of Australia here in Euroa. And on the 10th of December 1878 saw the Kelly gang rob the bank. Not only did they do that, they took hostages. They took 37 people as hostage, and then they left the station running off into the Strathbogies bushes, leaving them locked up in the bank. Now, the building that you see behind me is the original brick of that bank. However, it was demolished in 1974 to be rebuilt into the structure that is here today. So this is one of Ned Kelly's and his gang's major crimes.
In February 1879, Ned Kelly and his gang dressed as cops and then robbed the bank in Jerilderie in New South Wales. Here, they held 60 people hostage. Later that year, the Kelly gang began constructing suits of armour from thick metal parts of a farmer's plough. These iconic suits allowed the gang to walk away unharmed from close-range shooting, but they also served a less practical function. They made the gang members, Ned in particular, seem larger, more intimidating, even ghostly. The Kelly gang's career of pillaging and plundering was about to come to an abrupt end in Glenrowan, June 1880. After years of successfully eluding the police, in June 1880 the Kelly gang deliberately staged a final confrontation at Glenrowan in Victoria. Kelly had hoped this confrontation would stir up a rebellion of citizens against what he saw as an unjust legal system. By this time there were many Kelly supporters. Although considered an outlaw and villain by society, Ned and his gang financially supported and defended poor and desolate people. The gang took over the Glenrowan railway station, but Kelly was careful not to damage the telegraph, so the station master could alert the police. The gang moved the railway staff to the Glenrowan Inn, where they also took the guests hostages. Because many were Kelly sympathisers, the night was spent in song and merriment as they waited for the police to arrive. Eventually, a local schoolteacher alerted police to the gang's whereabouts. Police and railway staff surrounded the inn, ready to fire at any of the gang members who left the building. I am standing in front of the site of the Anne Jones Inn, the place where the Ned Kelly gang had their last stand on the 28th of June 1880. So, they held up this inn in Glenrowan. They took about 30 hostages and they dislodged part of the railway track. During the duration of this 30 hours, the Ned Kelly gang got intoxicated and were feeling very tired, and they weren't really sure when the police were going to show up. The shootout went on for about 12 hours, and there was a lot of concern on the side of policemen that Ned Kelly, that shooting him wasn't seeming to work. They wondered if he was in fact the devil's incarnate, when in fact Ned Kelly had made himself some bulletproof armour from stolen metal that he took around the farms. At around dawn, Ned Kelly appeared in his armour outside the hotel, emerging like a ghostly apparition from the trees that surrounded. His appearance horrified the authorities. According to a railway station guard, I heard the thud of a bullet where I was looking back. I saw what seemed a tremendous black fellow with something like a blanket on him, and this would be about 7:15, and the morning being hazy, or else the smoke from the guns hanging about make him look a deal bigger than he was. The strange figure still advanced on us. I saw Sergeant Steele run from a tree close behind Kelly. As he shot at me and fired twice very low, I saw Kelly fall. Police started a fire in the hotel to smoke out the remaining gang members. They shot Joe Byrne as he came out of the burning hotel, while the other two gang members, Steve Hart and Dan Kelly, died in the fire. Ned Kelly himself was the only gang member to survive. I now stand at the site where Ned Kelly fell after being shot by Sergeant Steele's rifle, which was shot from across the street here. He wasn't shot dead, but he was very injured and got carried away to the railway station where he received medical treatment. Soon after the shootout at Glenrowan, this photo of Ned Kelly was taken while he was in shackles. He was in great pain. He had been shot many times in the leg and torso. That is why he was limping. After Ned Kelly's capture, he was imprisoned at Beechworth. Initially, his trial was to be held at the Beechworth courthouse. The court could not find a suitable jury as there were too many Kelly supporters in the district. He was later to be transported to the Melbourne jail by rail for his official trial.